Let's get to custom animations and learn how to work with keyframes in Premiere Pro. Alright, so now we are in Premiere, and first thing that we need to do is we need to make sure that we are in editing workspace. If you don't see it, like that, just go to Window, Workspaces and select Editing. Then I'm gonna go to the project window, select my folder Photos, and drag the photo that I have here to my timeline. And make it a bit longer so that it's about 5 seconds long. And now I'm going to go to Effect Controls tab, which is in the source window. Select my image, and I'm going to scale it down just a bit. Like that. And now I want to animate the position property so that my image starts right here. And then it goes like this and stops here. So basically we're going to animate this position property right here. So let's move it to our starting position first. Like that. And now we will work with the clip timeline. So basically we have our edit timeline right here. And each individual clip has its own timeline, which is right here. If you don't see it, just click on this arrow here. So if I click on this arrow, I can expand the clip timeline or collapse it. So make sure it is expanded. And I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, like that. And you can also see when I move the playhead inside the clip timeline, the playhead also moves in the main timeline. Alright, so let's start animating. So basically animation is moving a clip from point A to point B. And Premiere has so-called keyframes to help us create points A and B. So let's create our first keyframe by clicking on this stopwatch right here, Toggle Animation. And now you can see that a keyframe was created right here. Now I'm gonna move forward just a bit and change the position of our clip to the right side. And now you can see that a second keyframe was created automatically. So now our image starts here and ends here. And let's see what's going to happen when I play the clip. So I'm gonna move the playhead to the very beginning and press spacebar to start playing. You can see that our clip is now moving, which is what we wanted to do. So this is our first animation. But what if I want the animation to go a little bit faster? So I just need to take the second keyframe and move it closer to the first one. That way we reduce the time from point A to point B, which will make our animation go faster. So let's have a look. And you can see that now it goes way faster because we reduced the distance between the keyframes. Now we can also create keyframes for different properties at the same time. So let's suppose that I want my clip to go from left to right and scale up at the same time. So I'm gonna move the playhead to the first keyframe, like that. Let me just zoom in so that we can see it better. And now I'm gonna click on this stopwatch right here to enable scale animation. And you can see that the first scale keyframe was created. And now let's move the playhead to the second keyframe. And here's a little tip from me. It's gonna be way easier if you hold Shift while moving the playhead, because it's gonna make it kinda snap to the second keyframe or to any keyframe. So see, I'm holding Shift now and I can easily switch between the keyframes. So let's move it to the second keyframe while holding Shift, like that. And let's maybe decrease the scale property instead of increasing. So let's set the scale property to 0, like that. And now let's see what we have. So we've created this animation when our picture starts going from left to right and also it scales down till it disappears completely, because our scale is set to 0. Just a little reminder for you that you can change the speed of your animation. So let me zoom out just a bit, and I can select both keyframes for position and scale, and I can move them a little bit forward to increase the distance between the keyframes, and that way the animation will go slower. Like that. Let's delete all scale keyframes for now. So what I need to do is I just need to click on this stopwatch again. And Premiere will say, this action will delete existing keyframes. Do you want to continue? And I'm gonna just click OK. So now, as you can see, the keyframes were deleted. Let's create a couple more position keyframes so that you understand how to work with keyframes better. Let me just zoom out. And let's suppose that we want our clip to go from left to right, and then straight away from right to left. So this is the first keyframe. Then we move forward, and the clip moves to the right. Let's move forward just a bit, and move our clip to the left again. Like that. And a new keyframe, as you can see, was created automatically. So this is what we have now. But what if I want my clip to go from left to right? Then stop for a second and only then go from right to left again. So let me show you how this can be done. Let me delete the keyframe that we just created. So I'm gonna select it and press delete on my keyboard. So this is the final position of our clip. And let's create another keyframe with the same property, but let's move forward just a bit, like that. And let's create a new keyframe right here with the same position. So here you can find another icon which says add or remove keyframe. So let's click on it. And you can see that a new keyframe was created. But as I move from this keyframe to this keyframe, nothing happens because these two keyframes have the same position properties. Let's move them closer to the first keyframe so that animation goes faster. Then we can see that nothing happens. And let's move our image from this position to the starting position again. So I moved forward just a bit, and now I'm going to change the position to our point A. And let's see what we have now. So now we've created this advanced animation with 4 keyframes, but I don't really like how the animation looks, because as you can see, our animation just starts moving and then stops moving. The speed is the same all the time, which doesn't look very professional. So let's fix that. Let me delete the last 2 keyframes. Then I'm gonna increase the distance between the keyframes, which will make the animation go a little bit slower, because we're increasing the time of the animation. And now if I right-click the first keyframe, you can see it says temporal interpolation here, and I'm gonna choose ease out. This will make my animation start slowly and then it will gain the speed. So let's have a look. Let me decrease the distance and increase the speed of our animation so that you can see it better. So now the start of the animation is smooth. And let's make the end of our animation smooth as well. So I'm gonna right-click on the second keyframe, select temporal interpolation, and here I'm gonna choose ease in. And this will make my animation slow down before the end. So let's have a look now. Let me increase our preview window and have a look. Way better, isn't it? So just remember, if you want your animation to start slowly, just right-click on your first keyframe, select Temporal Interpolation and choose Ease Out. And then if you want your animation to end slowly, select the second keyframe, then Temporal Interpolation and Ease In. This is very important. Another very important animation is the animation of opacity. And there are two ways how to animate it. So let me show you both. But first let me delete the keyframes for position. So I'm gonna select them and press delete on my keyboard. Or I could just click on the stopwatch and that would delete my keyframes as well. Alright, so let's move to opacity. Let's move the playhead to the very beginning. And let's say that we want our clip to go from 0 opacity to 100 opacity. And by default, the animation for opacity is already active, so there is no need to click on this stopwatch icon to start animating. So let's just reduce the opacity to 0%. And you can see that a new keyframe was created here. Let me just move it here so that you can see it better. And let me move forward just a bit, just 1 second forward. And let's increase the opacity to 100%. And let's play it back. So we have two keyframes right here, which represent going from 0 to 100. Let's move forward just a bit. Create another keyframe for 100 opacity. Move forward a bit and reduce the opacity to 0 so that it goes to black. And let's play it back. And you could notice as we created these 4 keyframes, some dots were added to our clip. So 1 dot, 2 dot, 3 dot, 4 dot. Let me just increase it and zoom in just a bit. So these are the 4 dots that were created and they represent the opacity keyframes. So if I delete some of the dots, they will be deleted from here as well. Let's click on this stopwatch icon right here to delete all the keyframes. And now I'm gonna show you the second way how to create keyframes when it comes to animating the opacity of your clip. Let me make the window a little bit bigger and increase the video track. On the very top of the clip, you can see that there is a line, which I can drag down and up. And this line represents opacity. So if I drag the line down to about 50%, the opacity of our clip will be reduced to 50%. I can make it 0 and we won't be able to see the clip at all. Let's bring it back to 100, like that. So now if I want to create keyframes for opacity without going to effect controls, I just need to select the clip, then press and hold Ctrl on your keyboard, drag your mouse to the opacity line, and click anywhere to create a keyframe. So let's create 2 keyframes for now. Now I can move the first keyframe down, like that, to 0. And I will create this kind of animation. So my opacity, as you can see now, goes from 0 to 100. I can as well make the animation go faster. So if you have a look at the time, now my animation takes 1 second and 16 frames. I can make it go exactly 1 second, so I just need to move the keyframe to the playhead position. And now my animation will take only 1 second. Let's create another keyframe. So again, I'm gonna press and hold Ctrl on my keyboard and then click anywhere on the line to create another keyframe. And I'm gonna drag it down like that. So now our animation goes up and down. Let's create another one and bring it up. Another one and bring it down. And just like that, we created this interesting animation when our picture appears and disappears. Let's delete all the opacity keyframes. So I'm gonna go to Effect Controls and I'm gonna click on the stopwatch right here and press OK to delete all the keyframes. And now I'm gonna show you how you can animate the effects. So let's go to the project window, select Effects right here, and I'm gonna type Gaussian blur. So here it is, and I'm gonna drag it to my clip. And now if I go to Effect Controls, you can see that now we have Gaussian blur effect right here. And it also has stopwatch right here. So let's create keyframes for Gaussian blur effect. Let's move our playhead to about 2 seconds. Then I'm gonna click on the stopwatch to enable the animation. And I'm gonna increase the value of blurriness to about 700, like that. Then I'm gonna go to the very beginning of our clip. And I'm gonna set the blurriness to 0. And now see what happens. As time goes, our image becomes blurry. We can reduce the time of our animation so that it goes faster. And we can also make it go from 0 blurriness to 700 and then to 0 again, if we just decrease this number to 0. See what happened? Just like that. And this is a great way how you can reveal some images or text. Let me show you an example. So I'm gonna move my playhead here. I'm gonna select the text tool and I'm gonna type "this is text." I'm gonna make it just a little bit longer, like that. And let's add Gaussian blur effect to our text. Go to Effect Controls and you can see Gaussian blur here. So let's turn on our animation by clicking this stopwatch right here. And let's increase the blurriness to about 500. Then let's move forward just a bit and decrease it back to 0. Now see what we have. So we've created this nice animation of our text. You can also easily copy your animation. So let me, for example, add some more keyframes to our text. So let's go to the very beginning, select position, move forward just a bit, and I'm gonna animate it so that it goes to about here. And I'm also gonna right click and select ease in so that my text slows down before the end. Let's see what we have. So this is our animation now. Let's create another text and I'm gonna show you how you can copy and paste your animation. So this is text number 2. I'm gonna make it bigger. And if I want to apply the same animation, I just need to select my previous text clip, then click on vector motion and press Ctrl C on my keyboard. Then select my second clip and press Ctrl V. And as you can see, our keyframes were paste it. So this is what we have. And let's also copy and paste the Gaussian blur effect. So again, I'm gonna select the first text, then I'm gonna select Gaussian blur, and I'm gonna press Ctrl C on my keyboard. Then I'm gonna select my second text, and I'm gonna press Ctrl V to paste the settings. And as you can see, now we've successfully copied and pasted the animation that we wanted.